Well, hello there. It is time for another stamp class. It looks like I need to clean. Hold on here for just a second. I got a little. All right. Just trying to get everything going this morning. I'm a little behind the time, just a little bit. Okay, so today's class, hello Kathleen, good to have you here. Today's class is a Use It Up class, and this is where we finish up packs of paper and bolts of ribbon and all kinds of good stuff like that. But today I am using the Abundant Beauty Masks and the Layering Leaves stamp set to finish up my projects here. It's going to be a pretty class. I actually have 3 projects and then a bonus for y'all. Good morning, Kat. Good morning, Kathleen. Which that leads me to good Thursday morning, actually on Friday. Welcome to Seeing Ink Spots Backstage Pass. Okay, enough of that. Let's flip the camera and get on with class. All right, so I'm just going to do a twisteroo here and flip the camera. All right. So today, here is my kit. Let's see if I need to kind of scroll in just a little bit here. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. You scroll out just a skosh. There we go. All right. So today, I do have a lot of announcements, but I don't have any of my papers. The biggest announcement is that we have an upcoming class. And it will be, I'm just grabbing the stamp set and dies. We're going to be using the Garden Meadow Suite Collection. And this is in the online exclusives. It's available now to everybody. This is the Garden Meadow and the Garden Meadow dies, stamp set and dies. It's called Meandering Meadow, the entire suite collection. So signing up for this, you can place an order on the host code as before, and I'll ship it to you for free, or you can sign up through PayPal for $31. The RSVP date on this is the 24th, so next week. So you still have some time on that. And then in December, we have, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later, we're going to have a desktop calendar class. It will be my 4th annual. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to be featuring the Magical Meadow. So we have a couple meadows going here. Garden Meadow in November, Magical Meadow in December. So keep that all straight. That's a little tricky. Okay, so information for that is on my blog. And I'll also post things to Seeing Ink Spots and to the Backstage Pass. So, all right, so on with the show. Let's begin. All right, so in this packet here, let's see what we're going to find. We have a little bit of everything. I was using up some scraps on the desk. That's where some of these strips come in. When I cut class packets for other things, I'll often end up with strips like this, and I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a way to use this on a card in my Use It Up class. So, and then you have a smalls bag that has some things in there, and again, these were extras. So we're just putting them into the class here. So our first project that we're going to do, I'm just kind of moving through things. We're going to use a half of sheet, and it's a half sheet hot dog style, half sheet of wild wheat, okay? That will be for our first card. Also for our first card, I'm going to take these out of the way for now. This strip of Petal Pink. This strip is, it's 1 inch by 5.5, okay? So you're going to want that as well. 1 inch by 5.5. Also, we're going to want a piece of our white. And then inside here, we have some Cheerful Daisies DSP that we are using up. These are the back sides of the DSP. Typically, these would be the front, the more focal pages. We used these in a motorcycle class, and we also used these in the Cheerful Daisies class, and so I'm finishing these up. For this project, we're going to use the peacock and green, okay? So that's for that. I'm going to put the rest of these pieces aside. And then in my stash here, I am going to pull out for this project, I'm going to pull out the circle. Every card needs a circle, I've decided. I really like them. And the 2 leaves. And so these leaves come from, and I punched them for you, but they come from the bow punch. So here's the bow punch. I think this is on back order right now, but it's coming back. But it's been around for probably about, what, 2 years now? So hopefully you guys have this. But the cool thing about this is this punch came first, and then they developed a stamp set to go with it. So I'm going to be using the greetings from this stamp set, all right? And I'll also even be using some of the leaves. So, okay, on with the show. Now that you know where the things are coming from, let's begin. So for today, you know, it's just kind of a free-for-all in a way. At home, I have a lot of blending brushes, and so I would have been using all blending brushes for this class. But I'm at my mom's, and she has 3, so I'm using her 3 blending brushes. I'm also going back to some of the sponge brayers that we used to carry. I'm going to use that. I'm also going to use, let's see, oh, I pulled out a bunch of sponges. So, you know, you use what you have and what's available to you. So, and it's perfect. It works great. So no need to fear there. My color combo, ink-wise, for this project will be Petal Pink, Wild Wheat, and Pretty Peacock. All right, here we go. So let's start with a piece of white. And the first thing that I want to do with this piece of white is to trim it. So we're going to trim this piece of white down. And get my trimmer out here. Whoa. Okay, hold on. I just lost the cord. There we go. I just don't want to come unconnected. Okay, so for this piece, I'm actually going to take and cut a strip across. And I'm going to cut a 2 1/4 inch strip. Okay, so it's 2 1/4, and then I want it to be 4 inches wide. So 2 1/4 by 4. Okay, so I'm just trimming that off. So these pieces that are tucked inside the kit are larger than a 1/4 sheet. They're actually 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. And the reason they're 4 1/2 is because a lot of times I cut, you know, a 4-inch strip for the inside of a card. So that's why they are what they are. So this piece is going to be 4 by 2 1/4. Hello, Grace. Glad you're joining in. All right, save this. We're going to stamp on it as well. We're actually going to mask on it, not stamp on it. But let's take this first piece right here. This is what I want to do. I'm going to get out my wild wheat. Okay. And from the masks, so here are all the masks in this pack. These are $10. And so for the $10, you're getting 7 masks, which I think is pretty awesome. I'm going to use this leaf motif first. Now, the one thing you might want to do with masks is actually on each one with a Sharpie write this side up, because if you start flipping back and forth and you have ink on the bottom of one and then you actually get it flipped over and you put your paper down, you're going to get ink on that side because it doesn't dry on this. This is, you know, non-porous. So just be thinking about that. I haven't marked these, but I'm only going to be using this one once. So here's what we're going to do is I'm just going to place this over top. And, you know, you could be fancy and go in and tape everything down, but it's a small piece and I'm pretty coordinated. So I'm just going to go for it without doing all of that. I'm using a sponge brayer for this one. Okay. And I'm inking this up in wild wheat. And now I'm just going to brayer across my paper like so. And I'm not going to worry about like how dark is it, because look how dark it is. That's the great thing about the masks is you think that you're not getting a ton of ink on there, but you actually are getting more than you realize. So that's all I'm going to do with this piece here. And this is going to layer on my card. Where's my card base? I already lost it. It's too early in the game to be losing pieces. Okay, here's my card base. And this is going to glue right on top like so. And then I might look at this and go, well, do I want it to go that way? I think I'm going to have it go this way. Just kind of play with it. And so I'm going to give myself an even border on the side, top, and side. So the left side, right side, and top. Hold on, the glue's not moving. Here we go. Okay, so if you haven't figured out, I'm actually in San Jose right now. Or I never would have been able to get that glue to go in Idaho. I would have had to take a pin to it. Okay, so that's positioned there. I think it looks pretty cool. I love this look. I like that it's, that's the one thing different about using, say, a sponge versus a blending brush, is you do get a little bit of texture. So kind of look through your stuff, see what you have. This is kind of fun using some products that may be discontinued. We carried these a while back, and remember we had bunches of refill sponges, so kind of fun. All right, moving right along. With our piece of designer series paper, I'm using this side. We're going to trim this, and I want this to be 4 1/4 inches wide. Okay, so it's going to be 4 1/4 inches wide, the width of my card. So save that. You can use it on another project somewhere. And then I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to trim this down to be, let's see, what did I have it? I think I'm going to trim it down to, I think it's 3 3/4. So let's just take a 1/4 inch off this. So this piece that I put in all the Use It Up kits was 4 by 6. That's an easy way to split up your DSP. But let me just check. Yep, I lied. It's 3 1/2. So I'm just going to take another 1/4 inch off. So this piece now is 4 1/4 wide, so it's going to go all the way across our card, and it's 3 1/2 inches tall. But you don't have to be totally exact. You can have it be whatever you like. And so just as I've done this and thrown this down, this piece is going to layer onto the card base like that. Okay, so let's just glue that. We'll get these out of the way. Okay, and we're going to glue that in place. And now we have set the stage for some fun focal elements and a greeting here. All right, so here's this. We'll set that aside. Actually, before we set it aside, I'm going to take my circle, and I'm going to place my circle onto my card in the center. I'm going to use dimensionals to raise this up. Okay, I'm just going to do 3 here. Looks good. Okay. That way I have these pieces kind of out of the way and I'm not going to lose them. And I can set this aside so that I don't. And this is going to kind of come down right about there. So I've come down, I'm centered, and then I've come down just a little bit more than what the side measurement is. So I'm going to take these and set them aside so that I can work on some other things for this card and hopefully not lose them. Let's start with this piece here. So this piece we mentioned earlier is 5 1/2 by 1. Hello, Jacqueline. Glad you're here. So this was a scrap from cutting some things for Studio Ink spots. So I'm going to use the scrap up. I'm using my Build-A-Banner punch, and I'm inserting this all the way to the end. So you can see I've pushed it all the way in, and I'm going to give that a stamp, or a punch rather, a press. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to insert this end, get it all the way in there, and flag that end. That's all I'm going to do with this punch. We'll set that aside. Throw my trash. I have a little, I don't know, do you guys do this? I just have, you know, usually I have a mason jar, a flat mason jar, or like a shallow mason jar, just on the side so I can collect all my trash. Okay, what do you guys do for trash? At home, I actually, so when I'm doing a video, I have a little mason jar. When I'm in my stamp room, I actually have a garbage can off to the side. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my piece here, and I'm putting this end at 1 inch, and I'm going to cut 1 inch off, and I'm going to flip this and do the same thing. So what I'm doing is kind of creating a visually, it looks dimensional, but it's not. We're creating just kind of a fun banner here. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this piece with pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie. I'm not even close. Pretty peacock. Where is the brain go? I guess I'm hungry. And you could use any of the greetings that you want. Just something that will fit in this space here. So I'm using the thank you so much. Okay. And I'm going to add this right there in the center. Cool. And then I'm going to bring my end pieces in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this, and I'll do one at a time. A little bit of glue, and then, you know, I just kind of line these up on my grid paper so that I can get them fairly straight. Okay, there's that one. And then I need this one, and so I need glue up here in this corner. And I'll just kind of do the same thing and use my grid paper to help align that and make them even. Need to slide this one in just a little bit more. There we go. So there's my banner. And we'll let that glue set up, let it dry so everything is... All right, there's our greeting for the card. We'll set that aside. Now, on for some fun. We're going to first take our first look here at the sunflower images. They don't have to be a sunflower. You can kind of, you know, with your own creativity, make them whatever you want. But what I want to point out are these upper left corners. There's a number 1 in the sunflower, in the main flower. Sorry, we've got all kinds of shadows. And a notch. And then in the leaf, there's a 2. The centers, there's a 3. And the center definition, there's a 4. So they're giving you some help. And if you actually were to like make a little, you know, tape everything down, and I'm not going to do all that. That, you know, life's too short, but you can, if you want, do all that. But what I'm going to do is take the number 1 and my piece of paper here. Okay, and we're going to... I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of the flowers. I'm just going to tuck them way here in the corner. So I'm doing the 2 smaller ones. So the reason I have Post-it notes on the list here is so that I can cover up this one. Okay. And this spot right here, just so that I'm not getting ink on the rest of my white paper. Okay. Now with this... I have quite a bit of ink on it from the last time I was using it. So I'm going to offload just a little bit because I don't want this wild wheat to be as intense as this one here, because I'm going to actually blend a little pumpkin pie. I must be wanting pumpkin pie. I'm going to add some petal pink in for some dimension here in just a second. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to kind of quickly base these 2 flowers with... wild wheat, okay? And while I have that there, then I'm going to open up my petal pink, aka pumpkin pie, and I'm going to, let me kind of put some things away here. I'm already getting out of control. I'm going to grab a sponge, any old sponge, or you could use a blending brush or whatever you have, but I'm just adding ink to my petal, to my sponge, and I'm going to go in a circular motion. And I'm going to add petal pink to these flowers. Okay? And by going in a circular motion, it's going to kind of ink things up. You'll see when I pull the mask away, it's not going to be like in all areas, you know? It's going to kind of give us some shadow and contour here. So as I pull this away, now you can see at that circular motion that gave me some petal pink here, and then it doesn't over here. So it's kind of, you know, an easy way of creating that contour without actually creating contour, you know, having to go through that. Okay, then I'm going to do one more of these right in here. This is the small one. So let me mask this flower off. And we'll do the exact same thing. Whoops, I think I got two. Yep, I got two. Don't need two. Okay, there's that. So same drill, just a little bit of wild wheat to base it. There's that. And then I'll take my petal pink and just do that circular motion again. Cool. And that's it. So that's the flowers there. Now let's move on to, and I'm going to pull these off so that I can use them for other things. Hold on. Oh, hate it when I get the dropsies. Okay. Let's see. Let's bring in this one here. So this is the number 4. So if you look up in this corner, this is number 4. Oh, doggies, be quiet. I am puppy sitting. That was Logan's dog. He has one of our puppies here. What you barking at? She's barking at something. Okay, so this is Pretty Peacock, and I'm just adding some Pretty Peacock to a sponge here, and I'm just going to add some peacock into the centers there. And with a sponge in these tiny little holes, you might have to pay just a little bit more attention, maybe a little bit more pressure. That's the beauty of the blending brush, is the blending brush bristles will get right down in that hole. Okay, but there you see, there it is with the detail. So let's add that one to this one as well. Okay, so we'll just add that in there. Okay, great. Now we'll just set those aside. And this is where, you know, using a sponge, that's the other benefit of the blending brushes now, is you don't have that, you know, you're not right on top of those sponges and getting ink on your fingers. So I'm just cleaning up my fingers before I get thumbprints on things that I don't want to have thumbprints, if you know what I mean. Okay, we'll get that out of the way. I believe now we have everything covered stamp-wise for this card, except I'm going to keep wild wheat out for just a second here. And what I'm going to do, if you remember, if I bring my card base in and my banner and my leaves, of course you can't see them, let me get them into the camera view here. So these are the pieces that we're using. These are old olive. I had scraps of old olive, and so that's what I punched. And I'm okay with the old olive. It's in here, but I want to change these up just a little bit. And that's where this is going to come into effect here. I'm just going to take my leaf, and then I'll just give it a little press into the wild wheat pad. So 1, I'm customizing it a little bit. And 2, I'm just giving it, oh, and look how it's interesting, how it kind of inked up that way. I'm giving it just a little bit of a different color. Okay. And I'm going to blot that. And same thing here. We'll drop this one down onto the pad. Use a piece of paper or something. Okay. Woo, that one's dark, but it's okay. I'm going to get rid of this before I get stuff everywhere. But you know, I like to kind of create my own colors, my own custom look. And that one leaf, I'm going to go in and get it some more ink. That's better. Okay. Of course, we didn't get the whole thing. Anyways, it just changes it up a little bit so you can see the difference. And I just like how it warms it up. So, I mean, if you see the one, I just think that's a little bit richer. So that's why I've gone ahead and done that. Okay, so now those pieces are ready. We are done with inks for this project. what we need now are paper snips. And so this class is heavy on the paper snips, but I've done a lot of mine ahead of time here. And so let me just cut one of these out. The rest I have cut out. Okay, so I like to first, I call that a rough cut. That's my first step. Make a pile of what I don't need. Anyhow, I'm just going to come in here and clip around these petals pretty quick. These are easy to cut because they're irregular. To me, when they're like the perfectly rounded and they're all symmetrical, oh yeah, that's so much harder because you can see how your cutting is imperfect. So that's why this is a little quicker. Okay, just kind of zipping around. And the last thing we have to do, once I get this cut out, is just lay this all out and embellish it. And you can guess what we're going to embellish it with. We're going to use up some gems. We're using up the Tinsel Gems 3-pack. I believe it's the 3-pack, yeah. And there are 3 colors in these Tinsel Gems. There's Blueberry Bushel, Pretty Peacock, and Moody Mauve. And so I thought they were a perfect fit for this class. Plus I'm using them up. I had a couple packs from another class. And actually I just bought a whole bunch more because I'm going to be using them. This pack of gems actually looks really good with the Magical Meadow DSP or the Winter Magic. I don't even remember what it's called, but they look really good with that DSP. They're all the same colors. Okay. All right. So here's that, and I have a few others already done and ready to go. And let's look at my centers aren't quite as dark, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. Having a little bit of variation there. Okay. Now that we have our pieces, let's bring out the prototype here and see how we're going to lay this out. So this is what we're shooting for. Hey, Kayleen, glad you're here. All right, so the first thing I like to do is add my greeting. Since my greeting needs to go down and my other elements, so this is the anchor piece for this particular card. This is going to go down. And I want it to be the same level. I don't want it to get too, for me, this is pretty flat. Okay, so it's only one layer of dimensions on the whole card. Dimensionals, I should say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dimensional, because I'm going to put this on an angle. I'm going to put one there. And I'm going to put another dimensional right about there. That way I know that it's not going to, end up kind of getting cattywampus, but we'll just put this on an angle, just like so. Easy enough, right? And then my large flower is down in here, and I'm going to do the same thing because it's at the same level. I'm going to put my dimensional not on the back of the flower, but on the card here. Okay, do that there so that then I can come in and layer this flower right in and about there. And I could add more glue in there, but I want to be able to get a leaf under there. So, okay, let's do this flower. We'll put this one here. Okay, and then this one, same drill. I'm going to put my dimensional off up in here. And this one I'm going to tuck under. And it looks like what I did for this card is that I actually clipped my leaf. So I'm just going to clip this off and then add a little bit of glue. And now I know this seems weird, but I'm going to put glue on the top. And this is why I'm putting glue on the top. As you slide this in, you're not getting glue all over your card, and it will just stick to the top. So it's one clever little way of not getting glue everywhere. And for this one, look at that, I've got ink on my fingers everywhere. I'm just going to trim this off just so that it's not going to bang into dimensionals. But I'm going to, again, glue the top so that as I'm sliding this in, I'm not sliding glue across things. And I'm just going to lift this guy up and lift that one and then just tuck that. Well, I actually have this one on top. Okay, right in there. I actually have this one flipped over in my original, but that's okay. We're just adding some greenery here. Maybe I will put my flower on top for this one, since that's such a big leaf. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and gems. So here come the gems that I was mentioning. These are the tinsel gems, the 3-pack. There's a 3-pack and a 4-pack. This is the 3-pack. There's 3 colors in there. Those are the ones I was telling you about. So peacock, blueberry, and moody mauve. So we're going to use the peacock on this one. And I'm going to use 3 of them. You'll have an extra. Maybe you want to do a little something inside and just do a little hint of something. You could do that. So I'm going to do one like right there. Pick this up and another one here. So we got 2 just kind of in our general. And I'll take another large and tuck this one right up here. Okay, pretty clean and simple, but you know me, got to put a little sparkle on it. So I'm just going to give my Wink of Stella a little bit of a shake, and over some scratch paper, I'm going to prime the pen here. And then I'm waiting to see it come down into the barrel, and then I'm not going to push any more. And, you know, if you want to just kind of do a little wisp on the center here, you can. You know, if you want to hit the letters a little bit, just give them a little sparkle here and there. You can. You can do the flowers, and you can do some flicking. And I'm going to kind of aim my flicking on this pretty peacock layer, because to me, that's where it's going to show up the best. Cool. There you have it. We have finished our first project using the decorative masks. Just kind of a nice fall look here. All right. Tell me what you think. There's that. All right. Let's move along to project number 2. I'm trying to decide where to put this so that I can get it at the end. All right. Project number 2. We are going to use 2 pieces of the DSP. Oh, thanks, Jacqueline and Grace. So we're going to use the copper clay and the moody mauve brushed side. The backs are something like this. Okay, and our color base for this is going to be moody mauve. So I'm coming to my stash. So we don't need any more of the DSP. That can slide away. And we do need a piece of white, so let's grab that. And here's our moody mauve card base. That will do it for this card. Okay, so here's our moody mauve card base. This is a half sheet, hamburger style. Hello, Marcia. Good to have you here. So this one is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, easy enough. And it is going to be a portrait style card. But what I want to do first is let's take a look at these 2 pieces. Whoops. As I launch my grid paper. Okay, these 2 pieces, we're going to trim these down. We're going to trim them down. They're already 4, but let's make them 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to take off 3/4 of an inch. Keep this handy. This is the copper clay. Keep it handy. We're going to be using that in just a second. Okay, and then here's our moody mauve, and it's going to be 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, have those. Now what I want to do is with the moody mauve, I'm going to take that moody mauve and I'm just going to crinkle this. We're just going to give it, you know, I mean, I could easily put this through an embossing folder to get some texture, But this is all about, you know, kind of using up and using what's right, steady, and available, right? So Marcia says she's at the Seattle airport. Oh, cool. That gives her a little something to do while waiting to, are you waiting to board a plane? I'm assuming. Okay. And now if you get little tears like that, that's excellent. It's character. We like that. So I'm just giving it some good smashing, wadding it up, and then we'll unroll this. Okay. Look at that, instant texture. And let's now assemble these. So this piece here, isn't that a cool piece too? You know, goes this way. It's Cheerful Daisies paper. I don't remember the exact name, but it is really cool. There's some fun looks. Okay, so I'm making sure my card opens the right way. And I'm going to layer this piece of copper clay diagonally, a little cattywampus there. And I'm going to take this piece and we'll cover it with some glue so that we can kind of flatten it out so we don't have too many bumps and craziness. So we'll just get some glue going in here. And we'll lay this the opposite direction of the copper clay. And we're going to smooth some of this out so that it's not shrunk down quite so much. See, we'll just kind of press this out. Whoops. That's what an adhesive remover is for. So Marcia says she's going back to Detroit. Just hired contracts to remodel her house in Davis. Wow. Happy to get things going. So where is Davis? You're not talking about Davis, California, I don't think. So where's there another Davis? Okay, so there's that. Okay, we'll set that aside. Now let's bring in our white here. We're going to trim our white down. We're going to trim our white down to, again, this is a scrap. It's 4.5 by 5.5. And what I started doing is just chopping the, Davis, California. But how did you get all the way up to Seattle? I mean, anyway, just curious. Driving around. Okay, so this piece, like I was saying, when you cut like a 4-inch piece off for the inside of a card, I've been saving these 4.5s for stamping and doing things. And now I'm going to cut this one down. So it's a little crazy, but you know what I mean? When you're trying to stamp things white, who says it has to be an exact quarter sheet? But for this card, I want a panel of white that's smaller. So it's going to be 3 3/4 wide by 5. Okay. But these are just what I pack into your kits. So using up the scraps. So you can save these. I use this size for like scraping glue off of things. And this one, you never know when you're going to need a banner of that size, right? Okay. So this one here, we're going to go back to this number 1 mask. But we need to give it a little bit of a cleanup here. So I'm just going to get my paper towel out. And you can take these right to the kitchen sink. At the end of the class, I will take all of these to the kitchen sink and rinse them all off. But for now, I'm going to just give it a wipe down with my chamois. Or I should say my Mammy chamois. Okay, so now we're going to bring this one in. And we're going to take this, and we're just creating a cool background on our piece of white here. And so my colors for this card, let me show you what they're going to be. They're really pretty. We have Bubble Bath, Moody Mauve, Copper Clay, and Pebble Path. And from Marcia, she says she's flying around all over the place to get home. Oh, so you went from Sacramento to Seattle. I get it now. Sacramento, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so I have this kind of off on an angle. I'm not going to worry about masking anything because I'm going to cover everything. I'm going to, go through and get everything is going to get some color. So I have my brush here, and I think this brush, yes, this brush is Moody Mauve. Sometimes it gets hard to tell what's in there. And I'm going to ink up my brush, but I'm not going to totally, I'm going to ink it up nicely, but then I'm going to offload some of this ink because Moody Mauve is darker than, I always think of it as being kind of a mid-tone, and I think it actually ekes into a dark color. So I'm just going to add a light layer of Moody Mauve. And don't worry if things are a little streaky, like right through here it's streaky, but it's actually okay. Okay, so I'm just laying some color down. Okay, and I'm going to pick this up and we're going to do some more. Look how pretty that is. So see, you think it's streaky, but it's actually really cool. And you can't get that effect with the stamp. So I'm just going to kind of rotate this. Let's see, maybe like this. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this in place. Okay, so just reposition it. Get that little bottom spot. There are those flowers. Let's fill this corner. So we're just making background paper here. Let's do this big one. I feel like I've neglected this big guy. Okay. That one's filled. And maybe we'll do just a little pop of color right down here at the bottom. The tricky thing is remembering how I aligned those, because what I want to do is I want to add copper clay. But if I add copper clay and I have this Moody Mauve on here, then I get kind of a new color. And a new color is okay, but I just want you to be aware of that. So what I am going to do is clean my mask so that when I add the copper clay, it's more of a true copper clay. Like I say, unless you want a color mix, which is totally cool. And, you know, my point is I just want to bring it forward that if you, especially if you're like, oh, I want to do kind of a red and a blue, and then you're like, where did the purple come from? It came from your mixing color on there. Okay, so now let's bring our piece back in and just kind of wave it to get it dry. Let's see, here we go. This one's not too hard to line back up, so I'm just lining it back up. I'm going to grab my copper clay. Whoops, didn't mean to shut it. And I'm going to grab a sponge and just load a little copper clay into my sponge. But again, I want to just offload so it's not too crazy. You can always add more. And so just kind of like we did on that first one, just decide where you want to add some of that copper clay accent. And so that one's going to be kind of wild and crazy, but that's okay. So there's, whoops, oh shoot, I overdid that one. That one, okay, that's a bummer. But look how cool it is to just see some of that color layered into there. Hello, Julie. Oh, so I've got it on my fingers. Crap. Getting it on my card. Okay, don't worry. I know how to fix it. All right, let's see. This one looks like it was this way. Put just a little bit of the copper clay in there. I really have too much on my sponge. I need to offload more of it. So it looks like this one went this way. Okay, so I am going to offload some of this ink. Okay, let's see if this helps. Oh yeah, Aside from my smudge there, look how pretty that one is. I like that much better than, this one's a little harsh. That one's way too harsh, but never fear. I know how we're going to fix it. The other element's going on the card. Okay, so let's layer this one in. Okay, just a little bit of that copper clay. Yeah, super pretty. And that's the name of the game, is less is more. So be sure you offload your pieces often. All right, let's see if I can figure out where I grabbed this shape. I don't know. I don't remember which flower I used. I know I didn't do that.
Gold medal.
Oh, I think I just found it. Okay. Okay. All right, there's that. A little bit of that copper clay action in there. Beautiful. Okay, so there they are. Then I'm going to take my bubble bath, give it a squeeze. Oh, I didn't want to shut that. I wanted to give it a squeeze so I could grab some ink. Now with a water painter. And I'm going to pick up a little color here in my lid. Okay, so I've got dogs wrestling by me. That's okay. And I'm just going to do just a little bit of splatter. And I like to splatter with my blends, but I don't have any, well, I do have some blends here with me, but not the right colors. So I'm just giving this a little splatter. You can always splatter with your ink pad and a water painter. The cool thing about this is it's a little bit more rustic in appearance. You know, it definitely has a more shabby look to it. Okay, so we're gonna set this to dry. And this piece here that got a little crazy right through there is going to layer onto our cards here, or our layers, rather. And in your smalls bag, grab the, see, I knew it would go away. You have, I've punched for you from Bubble Bath. For those of you who don't have a kit, this was Bubble Bath, and I punched it with the Modern Oval. Look, there's my camera. Oh, there's me. Sorry. It's the Modern Oval punch, okay? So that's where this came from. And on this, we're going to stamp it with copper clay. And let's see here. I need to grab a greeting. My original, I used the Best Wishes. So let's see here. Maybe, I mean, I could use So Happy to Celebrate You. It fits in this nicely. Or I could just stick with Best Wishes. Let's do Best Wishes, just for fun. We'll do that one again. But let's see here. I'm going to take the, whoops, not the block I wanted. This is the one. We used this one already, so I'm just going to take this one off. Okay, so we'll put Best Wishes on the block here. And we're going to stamp this with copper clay. Okay. Hello, Terry. All right. Best Wishes. Okay, looks good. And I can close. No, I'm not going to close this up. I'm going to open. I'm going to keep that open. And I'm going to open up Bubble Bath. Okay. Did I say we were using Petal Path in this card? That's not right. That's our next card. Sorry about that. Just Copper Clay, Bubble Bath, Moody Mauve. Okay, so this one's ready. It's going to go in there. We're going to kind of position it a little different than on my original, but that's okay. Let's go to some more. Grab yourself some more white. And we're going to use some of the other. We're going to use this guy right here. Okay, so this one here is, this is the leaf die. And so I'm going to do this one. This is a leaf that's kind of like bending over. So we're gonna do that. And I'm gonna sponge that in with bubble bath. So I've got a new clean sponge here. Okay, and we'll just give this a light fill of bubble bath. And here's my copper. I'm just gonna pounce a little copper in there because I just wanna give it some dimension, some character. I didn't want it too like overbearing. I want these leaves a little lighter because this is very intense. Just creating a little bit of contrast here. So now I'm going to do the big one, and I'm going to do the exact same method here. There's my bubble bath, and here I'm pouncing in a little bit of that copper clay. Look at the fleck in that. It's really pretty. Hope you can see it. So I actually want 2 of these big leaves, so I'm just going to put, just kind of get another one right in there, just using up my paper. And this is where we're kind of getting a new color because I've got bubble bath and copper clay on this stencil here, kind of creating that new color because we didn't clean it. But it'll total, whoops, whoa, gee, do you guys do, welcome to my world. Anyhow, so we have these right there. We're going to cut these out. So I'll just do a real quick rough cut here so that I can free up this paper for some other things. So these 3 are going to get fussy cut, and I have those done ahead of time. Let's see here. Yep. So here are my leaves. They're a little bit darker than these, but that's okay. And here's my folded over, the leaf that's folding over is right there. So there's that. Now the other thing I want to do, and this, you don't have to do this, you can actually just stencil yourself some more leaves if you don't have what I'm going to use next here. But I am going to use one of the leaves from the layering leaves. I wanted to show you, I'm just going to put this thank you so much. I'm going to put that one away. I think I'm going to use this one here. I like this one. It's pretty. No, I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use the one that's already on the block. It's a little funny, right? Okay, I have one on a block already. So this is one of the leaves, and you'll notice that it's the same shape as the bow punch. So I'm going to ink this up in bubble bath. And I'm going to put this on the side right here. And I'm not going to stamp another one right next to it. And I'll show you why. Because as I come in with my punch, it's going to punch this little, it's going to punch that little berry bough or whatever you want to call that. So here comes the leaf. So I'm just going to center that. Get it close enough. Okay, so there's that. Now hang on to that. You might use it for something. But now I can see where I need to stamp for the next one. I'm going to come right in there. There's that. But I'm going to have to cut this away to be able to get in here. Okay. Okay. Isn't that cool? But I like, so when this punch came out, there was no stamp set that matched it. But I do like that there is now, you know, some leaves that do coordinate with the punch, and you can kind of have some fun with that. So if you don't have that, you don't have that stamp set, go ahead and I'm sure you have plenty of leaf dies. You know, you can make more of these. You just need a little something that we can accent our greeting with, okay? And so I'm going to take a little linen thread here. Okay. And I'm going to take, let's see, here's some seal. I'm going to put a little bit of seal right here. Of course, I haven't even glued this on my card base. Let me glue this on the card base. I'm not going to glue it on the card base because we have a step yet to do. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors and rough up the edge here, just real quick. Give this a little bit of a distressed look, just to kind of go along with this distressed look that we've created. Okay. One last one. Okay, now we'll glue this down. I'm just eager to get that greeting on there so that I can cover up my big old smudge. Okay, and this one, I'm not going to worry about the papers underneath at all. What I'm looking at are the sides of my card. And I'm just trying to go for an even border all the way around. So this one is going down. We have the two that are, one's crooked this way, one's crooked that way. This one's going to go down straight. Okay, now that this is down, I'm going to add some seal, maybe, right here in the center of that's, so my greeting's going to come here. On my original, I have my greeting down just a little lower, but we're going to put this one up here because we have this smudge and this one's like way too overloaded. That's how we're fixing our card. So I'm going to cut a piece about 12 inches. That's my usual length for linen thread. But I'm not going to really tie a bow. I'm just going to kind of wrap it around my fingers and imply a bow. Okay. Just kind of tame this down. And we're just going to lay this right in that linen thread right there. So just kind of a back and forth kind of thing. And then this will just set right on there like that. Okay. And if I want to make this a loop of just a little bigger, I can. Okay, there goes the grandfather clock. Okay, that's ready. Let's put some dimensionals on this so that we can mount it. Okay, I'm going to come in. We're done with ink pads for this. So sorry for the delay here, but you know what an open pad means. Catastrophe. Okay, get that. Now I can bring in some dimensionals. They were stashed in the same area, so I'm just going to do a couple on this. Okay. And look, goodbye smudge. Just like that, the smudge is gone, and that area that was just way too intense. Okay, so now we're just going to have some fun adding these leaves into our arrangement here, into our card. So you know me, I like to cut these ends off just because they kind of sometimes get stuck in things, right? They get caught up. And I forgot one element that I want to add. And that is, do you remember that piece that I said save that? And here I said save that, and now I don't know where it is. Here it is. So we have this strip right here. I'm going to use my bow punch to, look at, this is the perfect width to just get that right in there in that punch. I'm going to punch a couple of these because they're a great contrast. What else am I going to do with this little scrap, right? We're going to use it up. Okay. If you don't have that, don't worry. Just find another little piece that you can add. But, you know, maybe you have another punch that you can, or just even cut your own, you know, cut a leaf. All you have to do is, you know, just cut like, I'm just talking like a basic leaf, like something like that. Just a, you know, like a skinny, just something, do a couple of those. Those would be cool in there. So, don't fret. If you don't have something, make do with what you do have. Okay, so I'm going to add some dimensionals. I had some minis nearby. Let's see if I can find them. Right here. Stretch through the camera. Okay, I'm going to add these with some minis. So I like to put, I'm just going to get these all ready. Okay, so that I'm ready to add them in. These I am going to glue because they're too... Yeah, I'm just going to glue them. But let's get these big pieces prepped and ready to go. And as you've seen me do a lot in the past, even though it's not totally covering and it's showing, by the time you tuck it down in, it'll go away, right? Same thing here. Hey, Kim. Good to see you here. Okay, so now for this one, let's see. This one's going to be a little different than my original because my original, like I said, was lower, wasn't covering up a goof. But I'm just going to kind of add some leaves in here just to bump this greeting up. You could finish and just leave the card as is and not put in all this other stuff. And you know what? I just noticed I forgot to mask in or, you know, color in all the centers. Oh, well, this one's different. It's okay. They don't have to be exactly the same, right? Okay, there's that. And then we'll add some leaves in here just to kind of soften all of this. This is kind of a wild card. But I think it's pretty. It's a little different. And we're going to tuck this one in here. What I love about this card is the color combo. It's so unusual to me to put Moody Mauve and Copper Clay and Bubble Bath together. And we are going to try and get those centers filled in. We'll do it in just a second here. Okay, so adding these in here will help to just create just a little bit more, you know, gives it just a little bit more color down in there. And you know what I'm going to do here, folks? We are going to flip this over. Okay, just so it's not quite so busy with garbage under there. So these need to be glued. So again, I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on top so that I don't smear it across my stuff as I slip it inside and underneath in here. There we go. Just have a little bit of that peeking out. We'll do the same thing on this one. Whoa, that's a lot of glue. So this is where I'm going to take one of my scraps and just brush it off. And then tuck that in there and then give a little press so it'll stick to that layer above it. Okay, so now what I want to do, I said I missed the centers here. So let's take a look at this and see how we can clean this up. I'm going to, because I definitely don't want peacock, I want to use Copper Clay. So I need to just clean this all up, right? Get that wiped off. Make sure there's none on the back. Okay. Yeah, because I'm picking stuff up as I'm using you need a clean paper towel, but I don't have a clean paper towel. Who'd have thought I'd have needed a whole bunch? But just make sure your stencil's clean since we're switching colors and because I'm going to be setting this down on my card, okay? Since I forgot to do these. So I'm just going to set that right there. Bring my Copper Clay sponge in. I am not going to re-ink this. I'm going to offload what's here. I just don't want it super intense because I can always add more ink, but I can't take it away. Pretty. Lends to that finishing touch in here. Okay, let's get this one. This is the smaller, not the smallest, but it's smaller. But I don't want to get on there. So we'll just do a real fast slip a piece of scratch paper in there and get this going. There. Okay. And let's that one I'm not going to worry about, this one right here, because I really can't get to it. So unless I just, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can't. I'd have to take that one out. You get the idea. I'm not going to take it out because I don't want to ruin it. But maybe after I will carefully lift that out and sponge this in. Okay, there's that inside. And same thing with that one there. It's a little tricky to get to, but I can do it afterwards. I can just kind of take my leaves off for a second. But let's finish this up with Wink of Stella. We'll just give it a nice splatter since we already have splatters on this card with Bubble Bath. And then I did very carefully take my Wink of Stella. Let me get my brush going just a little bit more since I just flicked it. Okay, sometimes I like that as a palette, but I'm going to come in here and just kind of hit these letters. And I mean, you could punch up some of the flowers if you wanted, but for this one, and you know what I found out about Wink of Stella? If you ever feel like you've got too much and you're like, oh, I overdid it, that's not what I want. If you let it dry entirely, and then go back in, and I thought I had an adhesive remover right nearby. I do. It's right here. But if you let this dry and then rub it with your with your adhesive remover, it will tame that. It won't remove everything, but it'll kind of just tame it down a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's a good thing to know, because sometimes, yeah, you're like, oh, it blobbed or something. But yeah, so just a nice, pretty fall card. Let's actually do one last little bit. Let's bring in our tinsel gems. Okay, tinsel gems, and we're going to use the mauve ones. I'm actually going to use all 4. Why not? Who says it has to be odd numbers? I'm going to do one like right in here, and then we'll buddy this one up. Come here. I need my hobby blade. I'm going to do another one just kind of right in there. They're kind of hiding. And then let's take this one and add it just kind of down in here. I want to make sure that it's not vertically in line with any of those. And then we'll do a last one. We'll just kind of do it, tuck it. We'll see that one draws in a perfect. We'll just move it out here just a little bit. Okay, so I've used up my tinsel gems. Just add them where you like. I was just trying to accent what's going on here. So now that this is dry, you know, I can kind of knock that down because it got a little bit heavy, but it totally works to just kind of whoosh some of that away so it's not quite so in your face with that Wink of Stella. So pretty. Try that color combo if you like it. I think it's really pretty. The Copper Clay and Moody Mauve and Bubble Bath. Okay. So there's that. Let's set these aside and bring in the stuff for card number 3. Card number 3. Oh, I like this one. I think this one's my favorite. Okay, we're going to use a Pebbled Path card base. See, I don't have tape. Usually I tape these down so that they stay straight and not moving all over the place. Okay. Things you do with when you're not in your own space. You make do, right? Kim says, what a super tip for the Stella. Yeah, it really is. When I figured that one out, it was a game changer. Okay, 8.5 by 5.5. Scored at 4 1/4. It's your basic. And this too is going to be a portrait card. And I'm going to use this piece of DSP. The back side looks like that. Okay, or I should say the front side. This is probably the front of the paper, you know, but we're going to use it this way. And I'm going to trim this down because it is 4 by 6. I want to trim this down to 5.5. Okay, so we're just going to make it 5.5 right away here. Okay, so there's 5.5. And now we're going to do some stenciling on this. And this time I'm going to use the Houndstooth. Love, love, love this mask. And I'm going to be kind of on an angle here, but I'm also going to angle my mask. And I'm going to make sure that it's pretty straight, okay? And for this, I'm going to use a blending brush and Pebbled Path. So remember when I said this was in the last color combo? It was in the wrong stack. It's in this one. Okay, so here's Pebbled Path. And I'm going to ink my blending brush up. And on a paper towel, or, whatever, scratch paper. I'm going to offload because I don't want it to have too much ink, but I want it to have ink. And I am going to kind of do a random, I'm not going to fill the whole thing. I'm going to leave some blank spaces, okay? So just because that's kind of the look I'm going to go for. All right, so I'm just kind of laying ink down in kind of a haphazard, and I'm going to kind of go back where I was. Okay. And now I'm going to carefully check it. Yeah, I've got some pattern going there, but maybe I want it just a little bit darker in a few spots. So maybe I'll add just a little bit more. But I just kind of want a faint look. I don't want it too wild and crazy. Okay. So there you have it. You know what's fun with this one is using this on, say, white, and doing a whole array, mix colors. It's really pretty. Okay, so to me, this is the direction of the houndstooth, but I want to rip this side. I want to do a rip on it, so I'm going to turn it upside down so that I can rip it the right direction. So I've rotated mine. I've brought in the trimmer here, and I'm going to adjust my trimmer. And I'm actually first going to pick up some paper. But I just kind of want to take some of this off. And it doesn't matter how much, you guys. I'm taking about 3/8 off. But I'm using my paper trimmer as a straight edge. And see if I get kind of some of these bumpies in there, I'm okay with that. Okay. I think that's just kind of a cool look. So I do have a straight edge, but I also have some of that white core showing. But because I wanted it on that side, that's why I had to rotate it. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, this is going to just glue down to our card base just like that. What a cool and simple way to set up the stage, or the backdrop, so to say, for your elements, for your focal elements. Real easy. So stamp, mask, whatever, onto patterned paper. It doesn't have to be blank paper. I like adding more pattern to an existing pattern. It's kind of cool. I like it. Okay. There's that. Now, in your smalls bag, this is one of those scraps that I was using up from cutting everything. So I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good size. And then we will also use these two pretty peacock pieces that are in here. These are leaves. We had some scraps, so they were just big enough to punch a bunch of these peacock leaves. And let's see, for our greeting for this one, I'm going to take off best wishes. And I think what we'll do is we're going to add, let's do a thinking of you card. We haven't done that yet. So all of these need to be cleaned, but for now I'm just throwing them back in the case, if you know what I mean. Except now I'm going to get ink all over my fingers. That's how I roll, folks. But I will come in and do just a little bit. Use my chamois on my own fingers, right? I am so... When you do masks and that sort of stuff, you end up getting a lot more ink on your fingers. But it's the badge of a true stamper. Okay, so with my paper here, I'm going to use Pebbled Path again so far. I generally will like to use the darkest color. I've mentioned this before, but the darkest color in my palette for the greeting. So I'm going to use and this is going to go off the edge a little bit. That does not bother me one little bit. Your brain will fill it in. Okay, so there's thinking of you. And this is actually going to go right across there. And I'll leave Pebbled Path open for just a bit here because I am going to use that again. So let's see here. What do we have? We're going to put this on with dimensionals. And it's going to go right across, kind of, if you were to divide your card into thirds, here's thirds this way and thirds this way. I'm going to put it at that top third, okay? That is your rule of thirds, not three pieces. That is not rule of thirds. Okay, anyhow, here we go. Okay, moving right along. So just visually just kind of divide that into threes. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Holy moly. All right. So I'm going to roll with this. Okay. That is not something, you know, I'm going to fix it after class. I'll go ahead and put a new strip on there. I have plenty pieces of white that I can put a new strip on there. Pretend that's smudge. You got to be kidding. Where's it coming from? I just wiped everything off. All right. Well, just roll with it. It's there. We're going to pretend it's not there for now, and I'll fix it later. Okay. Let's do some creating. All right. So with your white, and you might need to bring in maybe another piece of white. Let me see here. Yeah, I've got some more white right here. So find yourself some scraps of white, and let's look at more ink. Am I the only one? Do you guys get ink on things? I can't be the only one. All right, let's see here. We need some stencils. We're going to use the flower stencil and the leaf stencils again. So we haven't used this one. You know what? I don't really like this one. I like it just the other one. But you could layer them in if you would like. But like I say, I'm not a fan, so I don't use it. Okay, this needs to be cleaned. And we know we're going to get more ink on this. Okay, so just give this a quick clean, and then I'm going to take my paper away. I have another one under there. But let's just get this cleaned. And let's clean this one as well. Okay, get rid of that. And then let's just take this piece of paper out of here. There we have it. Now, our colors, we are going to use Pebbled Path. We're going to use Bubble Bath and Moody Mauve. So kind of mixing our last color palette up just a little bit. So let's start with the flowers here. And so I'm just going to lay this down because we're going to stencil all three of the flowers. So I'm just kind of moving it to the edge of the paper. And we're going to stencil these with Bubble Bath first. Okay, so I do believe this might be Petal. We want our Bubble Bath. This is Bubble Bath. So we want Bubble Bath ink. And I'm going to this is a light color, so you don't really need to offload this one. But let's just go ahead and just get a layer of Bubble Bath in here. Okay, maybe just a little bit more. And just, like I say, that first full layer of Bubble Bath, we're just filling the whole, basing the entire flower in Bubble Bath. All right. Now, with Moody Mauve, we're going to use a blending brush. Got to open Moody Mauve. So I'll ink this up, and I'm going to ink it up nicely. And again, I'm going to offload on a paper towel or on a, you know, like if you have a rag of some sort. And now I'm going to kind of aim for the centers here. And I'm just kind of swirling in the centers just to create some more definition at the center of the flower. Okay, a little bit harder on this smaller flower, but just kind of use the tip. These are the small blending brushes. Again, I'm just trying to get it, and I'm going both directions. And then as maybe if you need to blend it out a little bit, just ease up on the pressure. But look how pretty that is. Yeah. Super cool. Okay. Terry, I take it that you get ink on things. I mean, it's bound to happen. Those people who don't, I'm like, yeah, you're not a real stamper. No, I'm just kidding. They are, but they're just tidier. All right, I've lost the center. I just cleaned it too. No, I just cleaned here it is. Here it is. It's hiding under the stack of masks. So this one here, we do need to give it a little bit of a cleanup here real quick. because we want pebbled path. So the centers of these flowers are going to be pebbled path. Okay, give that a 2-second dry. Take that out of the way. Okay, so just align my mask. And let's see, I have this is my Pebble Path blending brush. So we'll load this up. Again, I like to offload and just get that just right. And then we'll just come in here and I'm kind of doing a light swoosh. I don't need to have it like super dark. But I do like how these blending brushes get right into these. It would help if I actually did it where you could see. But that blending brush gets right into the into those little holes really nicely. Okay, so there's my flowers, and we're gonna fussy cut those out. All right, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to do just a little bit more stenciling before we cut anything. Okay. So let's get some leaves ready. So I'm just kind of getting in these spots where I have no, you see that ink there? So I'm just kind of working in there. And so color-wise for this, I am going to use Pretty Peacock. Okay, Pretty Peacock. And we'll use a little bit of the Pebbled Path as well. So I have Pretty Peacock on a sponge. Let me make sure that's still Pretty Peacock. Yep, it is. Now, I'm not going to load anything in this. I'm just going to offload in here nicely. Not nicely, but lightly. Okay? Because I don't want these to be like super saturated colors. And then I'll take my Pebbled Path and come in here with that second color. And it's that second color that starts to give this some dimensionality. Is that a word, dimensional? Dimensionality? But it does. It just makes things a little bit more interesting than if it were just Pretty Peacock. Okay? So let's do that again. Let me just find a spot here. We'll do another leaf just like that. A little bit of peacock. Layer that in. Okay? And then add a little bit of that Pebbled Path, just to give some contrast and some visual interest in there. I think it's really pretty. Now I'm going to take this leaf here, and I'm actually going to make, I'm going to do another one like right here, and I'm going to put another one right next to it so that they're like side by side as if they were designed that way as one image. So here's my first leaf, and we'll give that a little bit of Pebble Path. And then here's my second one. Like I say, I'm just doing it right next to it. Add that pebble. Okay. So now what I can do is I'll cut this out individually and this out individually. But it's like these two are, it's like it was meant to be. I've just made them, you know, a 2-in-1 kind of thing. So we'll fussy cut all that out, but never fear, I have all that done ahead of time. You don't want to sit and watch me fussy cut. So here are my flowers, okay? And here are my leaves, ready to go, that I've already done ahead of time. But what I want to point out is that on this smallest one, when I was cutting, I actually removed, and when I was cutting it, you know, and let me just show you real quick. I actually have come in here and I have cut all the way to the center, okay? So I've done that all the way around on all of these. Well, not the big one, but on the medium and the small, I'm taking and I'm cutting all the way to the center, okay? Now on this one, I left these little secondary petals that are like layered behind. I just didn't cut all the way down on one side, okay? But on this one, I did remove those little secondary flowers that are on that row behind, and you can see I've cut all the way to the center, okay? And that's so that I can make this a little bit more dimensional. So here we go. Let's add this to our card. Okay, here we go. what we're going to do is, this is pretty. Ugh, drives me crazy. So I'm going to just arrange my flower here. And I'm going to kind of, and I was spinning it, trying to figure out which way I wanted it to go. But you know me, I like to kind of hug and frame some of the letters or whatever I'm kind of adding my stuff into. It's usually words. But, so I'm going to do this here. And I'll do one on the bottom. That way I know that my flower's not going to be lopsided by adding my dimensionals there. We'll just come in here and just see how we're just kind of framing that capital T. So there's my flower. You're getting on the plane. Okay, well, safe travels, Marcia. We'll see you soon. Okay, this one here, we are going to just kind of, you know, use your fingers or a bone folder. I'm just kind of curling the petals forward a little bit. Okay, and where those slices are, it allows you to just kind of come in and shape that even more. Okay, and I'm going to use some glue. Cover up our pretty center there, that's okay. And then we'll add this right on top. Look how fun and dimensional this is getting. Same thing, I'm just going to kind of pull these forward. And because we've made these slits in here, it allows me to shape these petals, get a little bit more dimension in them. And we'll do a little glue here. All right, there's that. Super pretty. So now instead of a sunflower, it looks a little bit more like a dahlia. And we'll take our leaves here. Our leaves that are in not so traditional colors. They kind of have more of a eucalyptus look to them. We'll bring that right in there. Leaf sitting there, and we'll do a leaf here. We'll put this one. Oh, I've got a dimensional right there. Figures, but that's okay. We'll just kind of put it right in there. And I'm going to kind of bend it up a little bit. And then this one, I'm going to put this one on with a dimensional. I'm just going to tuck it right there. Okay. And we'll slip this one in here, kind of on top. Let me turn it just a little bit. Let go. There we go. There's that. And then we have our pretty peacock leaves that were punched in your kit. Again, this is from the bow punch. But I'm going to brush these, give them just a little bit of dimension with a little wink. You could even, say, sponge them with or add some color to them with your blending brush or your sponge, whatever you're using. So those who have popped on a little later, because I'm at my mom's, I've been using sponges and things that she had. You don't always have to have everything. So I'm working with 3 blending brushes and sponges. So that's okay. So I'm going to put these on with dimensionals. So a little dimensional right there on the back. Pick that up at the same time. And we're going to tuck this right under in here. And I like the addition of this peacock in here. It just kind of gives us just a little bit more, it gives it just a little bit more visual interest, a little bit more if it were, it just kind of, I think, brings it to life a little bit. And this one will tuck right up in here. Up in here, up in here, right there like that, stupid smudge. And for this one, I'm really going to keep this one simple. I'm not adding twine, I'm not adding gems, I'm just going to add flecks of Wink of Stella. And the splatters of Wink of Stella look great against this pebble path. So if I can get it going, oh, there it goes. Yeah. It's almost like little micro diamonds on this. because it's a darker color. Okay, and if you want, you know, you can get the center going, and I did do some of the petals. You don't have to do the whole thing, but just wisps of it here and there. It's kind of pretty. There you have it. And here's my original that doesn't have an ink smudge on it. So I think that's really pretty. Do use this technique of tearing up against the a straight edge. It's kind of fun to reveal that white core of the center of the paper. Ah, Suzanne is in Cancun. Wow, how fun to be traveling and having a party. Awesome. Okay, let me close up some ink pads because I have 4 open, and that's just you know, a disaster waiting to happen. I'm going to do one more project with you, and let's see. This one doesn't have its sticker on the bottom, or from the bottom on the side. We're going to use boho blue, blueberry bushel, and this is white. Okay, so that's going to be our bonus project in here that we're going to do right now. And let's use up some stuff here. We're going to switch gears, and instead of using all of the masks, we're going to use the Christmas mask, or I should say the winter mask that's in this set. To me, the sunflower and the houndstooth and the leaves, and then they threw this in. So it was kind of like a bonus added element. So anyhow, we're going to use the snowflakes, and we're going to finish up using, I've given you, this is a scrap from cutting stuff. So, you know, this is boho blue, and we're going to use we're going to use up this piece of paper. You have an extra in here you can use on something. I'm sure you'll find a pretty place to put it. I'm also using, you have 2 little bow pieces in there from blueberry bushel. We're going to use that up as well. So let's see, what are we going to do here? First, we're going to trim this piece down, and we want this piece to be the same width as our blue. So anyhow, let's get that going. So same width, and let's make this, it's about 3 inches. So let's just cut this piece down to 3 inches. And it really doesn't matter how much we take off in the length, but I just want, you'll notice it's the same as our paper, but I want some of this cardstock to show. So I'm just going to chop some off. Let's just take like, let's just take like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch off. Just eyeballing and having some fun here. Okay, so we're going to make a tag. Let me go back. Kathleen says, love this card. Glad you like it. I really like that one. She says, what time is it in your part of the world? It's 7:30 here in the UK. It is, great, the clock I'm looking at. I have one that says 1:20, one says 12:35, and what does this one say over here? Because I can't tell on my phone. I think it's 11:30. I don't know. Somebody tell me what time it is in California right now. It's a little funny. Okay, so here's our paper. I'm going to bring in the Very Best Trio punch. This is a great punch for making tags and whatnot. And the very first thing I'm going to do, I did this earlier in the month. It's 11:34. Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen's not too far from where I'm at right now. Okay, so I shared this punch in my Upstyle Your Paper Pumpkin. When you're making a tag, I love using the angle, the corner. But if you angle your corners and then go to put your ribbon slot in, you only have just a little bit to make that nice and even, or, you know, to sit parallel, because there's a bumper right in here. So I'm going to encourage you to eyeball your center and do your ribbon slot first. That way you have more paper to sit up against this bumper that's right there, okay? So do your ribbon slot first, and then do your corners, okay? And so I'm just putting the corner of my paper in all the way, and then I'm just gonna do this one. Now, do be aware, if you use this one, you have to be careful what you do, because you have actually 2 different corners here depending which way you put it. But this is my favorite, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the angle, okay? And then this is going to layer on here like so. Wow. Well, that's crazy. Look how it just kind of fits right on there. Okay, well, we're going to ride with it. Okay, so first thing I want to do here is we're going to stencil some snowflakes onto our paper here. And I'm going to start with white. And the reason I'm going to start with white and not with boho blue, which is going to be the other color, is because if I have boho blue on here and I clean it, it still seems to get into the white ink pad. So we're going to go in reverse. So I'm going to start with some white here. And I'm just going to pounce this color in here like so. And this is a little trickier getting the white. White is a little harder to get into the stencil. Plus these holes are teeny tiny. And I'll bet that if I had a blending brush for white, it would go in a lot easier. So you guys tell me if you have a blending brush handy and can do white. But yeah, I'm just kind of working white, and then this nice big one, we'll just get that all in there. But yeah, just try and get these all covered. Get a lot right in that one. Kind of really work this one because this one's really going to show, as well as this one. It's nice and big. Okay, and I'm going to carefully lift this and see how we're doing. And it feels like we're just barely showing up. So that means we need a little more action going here with our white. Really wiggle it down in there. I don't know, for some reason, all of a sudden I'm in the mood for some Christmas movies. You know, some of the ones from when we were kids. Okay. Okay, so there, you've got that in there. So now what I want to do is my stencil was this way. I am going to rotate my paper and we're going to stencil again, just kind of right on top. I don't care where they land. In fact, I kind of want them to overlap here and there. I think that's a little bit more interesting. Let's see, maybe move it over a smidgen like that. And this time we're going to use boho blue. Okay, and I'm feeling like I'm gonna wipe this down just in case. Just so that we get boho blue and not something way lighter, because we want some contrast in there. All right, there's that. Let's position this again. Okay, now with boho blue, take another sponge. Sorry, my arm's going right across. Now this one's gonna go in a lot easier. Is there I feel like there's a snowflake right there. I'm gonna move it up just a skosh. Okay, so we'll just add these boho blue ones in. Just go all around. And I like this. I like layering the two colors. Again, when you add that second color in, it just creates so much more dimension. And look how I haven't needed to add any more ink, because I'm even using the ink that's like rubbing off, and I'm just kind of moving that into the holes of the stencil. We need to get that guy. My mom is singing to the dogs. I don't know if you can hear her. Okay, so it's subtle, but it's cool. I like right in there where we're getting a little bit of that white. And like I say, you might be able to get just a little bit more action out of your white with a blending brush, but I don't have one. Okay, so gotta try and get me ink free. Yeah, right. But at least to where I can get this one put together. All right, so this is now going to glue on here like so. Easy enough. But again, we're adding pattern to a patterned paper. I think it's kind of fun. Okay. And add this to our tag. And this is a nice big tag for a big bag, or maybe you're sending over something for a neighbor gift or something. Okay, there's that. Okay, let's see what else we're going to use. Okay, here's what we're going to do on this one. We're going to totally shift gears. And on this one, and the reason, if you remember at the very beginning, I said, oh, I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We are using the Magical Meadow. We're not using the stamp set. We could if we wanted, but we're going to use the Magical Meadow dies. And I wanted to point out these dies because these are the stamps and the dies that I'll be using for our calendar class. And our calendar class is coming up in December, and you're going to want to sign up for it, whether you sign up for the PDF or for the kit to be shipped to your door. It's a 13-page calendar. It's 4x6, and it'll stand because it's spiral bound. It will stand on your stamp desk. Okay. So, and it's going to be decorated with this sweet collection here. But I wanted to point these out because there are some super pretty dies in this set. So we're going to use the dies that don't coordinate with any stamps, but they're the dies that you can, that just kind of, they're a standalone die. They don't have to have an image stamped into them. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I have a scrap of white here. Here's my scrap of white, and I'm just using a scrap of white. You could use the actual colors I'm using, but I didn't have those colors of paper here, and I wanted boho blue, and I wanted blueberry bushels, so I'm like, I'm making my own paper. So feel free to do a direct to paper technique just by taking your ink pad and doing a little bit of smooshing. Okay, and if you have light and white spots like that, don't worry about it. It's character. So that was boho blue. Look how dark it is. It's going to lighten up quite a bit. Okay, we'll do the same thing with blueberry bushel. And I'm just doing a direct to paper. This is a good technique if you have a really juicy pad that you need to de-juicify. If that's even a word. So I've made my own paper here. Half of it is blueberry bushel. Don't worry about that. We're die cutting. It'll all go away. It'll all fix itself out. But I do want to tell you, if you're going to run this through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, you're going to want your paper to be really dry. Okay. So Terry, I'm just reading your comment here. She says, yes, blending brush is better with the white ink. Okay, well, I'm excited to know that. I just don't have another blending brush right now. So that will help intensify that white. Good to know. Kim says she's excited for that class. She must be referring to the calendar class. Yes, and you know, Kim's in England, you guys. So she's done the PDF version, and she'll be joining us for that. Okay, so yeah, make sure this is dry or it's going to end up on your plates in your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And here's what you're going to cut. We're going to cut some things using these dies. And these dies are so pretty, you guys. So let me just pull out. Well, it looks like I'm going to pull everything out. So I am going to use this die here. I love this. This would typically be, you know, like a greenery, but we're going to make them blue. Who says they can't be blue? Okay. In my world. And I'm going to cut two of those from this. You can see I can get another one right here. And then this one is mistletoe, but I'm going to have blue mistletoe. So I'm going to cut that one here. And if the end is like that, don't worry about it. I'm also going to use these two dies. And so this one, I'm going to cut this in white. So just grab yourself some white scrap, and you're going to cut that one 3 times or something like this. Cut that 3 times, and then this magical little die here. We're going to talk about that one. You're going to cut this one as white in white as well, okay? So, but let me just put these back because I have all this already pre-done ahead of time, so you don't have to sit and watch me do that. Okay, so we'll just stick these back on here so I don't lose them. Oh, dogs are running outside. My mom says, oh, she's exhausted. Are you wearing her out? You think? She says. Okay. Now that I have this, I am going to turn this over. This isn't much better, but at least it's not quite as messy. Okay, so now that you have all those pieces, let's see what we have here. Have them set aside here in my jar. Okay, that one I did ahead of time. So here's my blue mistletoe. And see, that end is funny. Don't worry about it. It's going to hide. And here's my dark blue. So here's my blueberry bushel. And you know what's interesting about doing ink on white is it's a little different than doing just blueberry cardstock. I don't know, there's something, it's a little bit brighter. And here are my 3 white holly leaves. So this is why I said make sure your paper is really dry before you put it through your machine. So see, that paper was sitting down and the plate went over it and got that on there. So you just be careful. Dogs are wrestling.
Hey, come on, come on.
That's puppies for you, right? Okay, so now let's assemble this on our card. So not our card, but our tag. We need an anchor element to put all of these together. And so I have punched myself from white. I punched the modern oval. We talked about that earlier. This one right here, okay? That's your modern oval punch. And I'm going to stamp this in blueberry bushel, okay? And I'm going to use the words sending hugs. Thought that was a cute wintry saying, sending hugs. And then we're also going to stamp for you. Okay, so here's sending hugs. And I am going to just center this right on this tag. Nothing fancy here. I just kind of want to get it straight. They're sending hugs. And then, while I have blueberry bushel out, I'm going to get the for you ready. But I'm not exactly sure where it's going to lay down just yet. But let me kind of show you what we're going for here. My sending hugs, I'm going to actually move this over to the right. And it's going to kind of come right in there. So I'm just going to kind of put it right in that center area. And hopefully it'll show up since it's a darker blue. We're going to sending hugs for you. Okay, cool. Hopefully you can see that. Now, before I actually lay that down, I'm going to bring my seal back in here. And I'm just going to kind of come across, maybe. And I'm going to lay my blueberry bushel. I'm going to trim these ends. If I can find my snips. Trim that end. But I'm going to do a blueberry bushel sprig that's going to come all the way up this side. And then this one, I want it to just kind of swing down and around over to here. So it's going to kind of, again, frame that for you. Then let's put this one on with dimensionals, as always. There's a 1 and 2. Okay, and we'll set that just kind of right over top, just like that. Okay, and I'm done with this. Again, get it out of my way before I wreck everything. And I'm going to kind of, well, before I actually add that into the tag, I'm going to do something here. So I told you about, I wish this wasn't like that. So sorry that it's mucky because it's hard to see what's going on. But I told you about this die here, okay? And let me bring some of these other dies back in. But this die here, if you'll notice, there are 11 berries on this die cut here. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, those are so tiny. How am I going to deal with it? But if you notice it, that there's some little berries on here, and there's some little round berries on this piece as well in the dies. What you might not have caught on to is that there's 4, 7, 8, 9. All right, so you have plenty of berries there that will cover that. I thought there were 11. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, there's 4 in there. So there's 4, 3, and 4. So that's kind of nice. They've given you just the right amount of berries. Same thing here. You have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. So if you want to put berries on, you only have to cut this one time. That's an awesome little, it's like, thank you, Stampin' Up, for making that make sense. Okay, so I die cut mine ahead of time. I just left them on the board so I could find them. So now to make this easy, you're going to use take your pick tool and your glue. And what you're going to do is, kind of make sure your glue tip is, somehow, when you get that kind of blobbiness on there, just make sure it's not like that. Make sure that your glue is moving too. Okay. And we're going to just do a tiny dot of glue on each of these little berry spots. I mean, tiny dot. If you put too much, it just takes too long to dry. Plus, it's just kind of hard to get the berry to stick. It'll stick to take your pick tool, which it's probably going to do that anyway. But just use a tiny, tiny, tiny dot of glue. But get all of them ready at one time. So you're not doing like one individually. No, you got to mass produce this. So I'm actually going to set that aside to dry for just a second. And kind of while that's drying, I'm going to take my 3 holly leaves here, and I'm going to paint these with Wink of Stella. And I'm just going to do a quick brush on them in the direction of the leaf. And it has a little bit of a curve to it. Okay, those are done. So hopefully this is drying a little bit better. Then take your pick tool, pick up one of the berries from your plate, and just add that right onto your little stem, your mistletoe stem. I just thought that was so clever that they gave us 11 and that they made both dies have 11. Okay, and you can see it takes just a little bit. So this isn't a tag I would mass produce and have a bunch of them. But, if I wanted to just kind of revel in the process of handcrafting something, this is the type of project I would do. If you know what I mean. Let go. And this one needs to kind of slide down in place a little better. Kind of took off. Okay, 3 more. Pretty, pretty, pretty die cuts though. Okay. Cool. See, it wasn't that painful. But the reason I pointed it out is because, sometimes we have all these dies and we don't always use them. I think it's important to try and figure out what's for what. And anyhow, that's that. Okay, so I've got my mistletoe ready. And let me just share with you, I actually did this one yesterday as well. So it's just it's the other die, but I kind of goes like this, but I cut it apart. But look how pretty the berries are on that one too. And this is white paper. I just pounced it with the boho. I just didn't pounce it quite as dark. Okay, so now let's put this all together. So we have our pieces, plus we need our little blue. These are scraps that I had left over. So I punched them through the bow punch. So look at that. I'm just kind of matching those in here. We'll use all of that to kind of accent this. Let's see. Let's bring in the original here so you can see what we're aiming for. Pretty. I think it's pretty. Pretty, pretty. Okay, so let's just kind of put this together. So I'm going to use mini dimensionals for most of this. And I'm just going to flip these holly leaves over and add those. Those will be the first ones I add in because to me they kind of help tell me where the rest of the elements are going to go. Sometimes I call that my anchor elements. This is really the anchor, but next up is going to be the holly. And I think I want this one just this way a skosh. There we go. And then we'll do a third one in here. Come on. All right, and this one's gonna swing down here. Super pretty. Okay, so I'm actually going to cut apart my mistletoe, and I think, let's see, that's what I did, is I did these two. So that's this one is going to come and decorate in this little nook and cranny. And then what's left here, this one is going to swing in there. And then this one, I'm actually going to trim this off, this kind of stem. And this one is going to kind of peek kind of right in here. Okay, and then our blue goes in there as well, our punched pieces. Okay, so let's just start to add these next pieces in here. I'm going to do this with a mini dimensional. I got two. I don't need two at a time. So this one's going to fill this little space right in there. And then I'm going to glue this one in. Again, I'm going to use my top glue idea so that it doesn't scrape across everything. But I can just kind of lift that in there and give it a press, and it'll stick to the top. So I'm getting a little dimension. But you know when you put the glue on the back of something and then you slide it across? It's like, oh man, I got glue out here and I didn't want that glue to show. So I'm gonna put the glue on top, like that, and then tuck this in. And give a press. It's bumping into a dimensional. Figures, right? Okay, got that one in. This one I'll do with the dimensional as well. So Kim was asking what time it was. You can hear the clock going in the background, chiming in the background. It's noon. That's what time it is. Okay, let me cut that stem off so I'm not bumping into a dimensional in there. But so pretty, just to kind of overlap these elements. This one here, let's see, kind of snuggle it that way. I think I'm going to put this one on with a dimensional, believe it or not, because I really want it to have some lift. And it's barely sticking onto anything, but it's enough. It will hold it. So, and it'll allow me to kind of position this where I want it. And I want it kind of just like that. Okay, so there's that. We have some blue gems left on our little sheet here. So let's put these on. And I'm gonna do one here. And that was a big, here comes a small. Come on. This is why I like a hobby blade. They get under these a little easier. We'll do one right in here, kind of frame in between those holly berries, or leaves rather. And then here's a large one I'm gonna do down here. Super pretty. And now Wink of Stella, we need to. I'm gonna hit these berries with Wink. This is something that you could almost even just do a little Wink of Stella on your white paper and then die cut, and then you don't have to kind of go back and try and get these. And I'm going to do a little on these right here just to kind of punch that shape up. And then we'll do a full-on flick. Ruby, stop digging at the door. Flick that. Can you hear her trying to get in? And let's see, for my ties, I have, this is some of the ribbon that we used in our Studio Ink Spots camp. So I like to give myself a long tie. And I know some people do just this short little piece, but I actually, this is a function for me. This is a functioning piece of ribbon here. And that is, and I know I explained this in my Upstyle class, I like to use this end. So if I've got a big bow on my package, which I usually do tie, I can reach in here and tie this around that bow, and then my tag is secured to the package and finished off with a tie of twine. So that's why my tails are as long as they are. So I'm going to add this through the ribbon slot, fold it in half, and this blue twine here, this is left over from when I tie your kits and mail them to you. I usually tie it with some twine with a bow. This is that twine, so it's not in the catalog. I just found it in my mom's stash, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that. I am going to use that, and just to finish this off here, I like to tie it tight and then kind of move it down. We'll tie it in a bow and call it done. So we have a little bonus project here, a bonus project that has quite a few steps, but that's okay. But then I, pull my ends up, make sure they're even. Ooh, they're pretty close this time. Sometimes they're not even close, and sometimes they're right on. But let's just give that a trim. There you have it. And there it is. There is our tag bonus project here. Let me just trim this ugly end right here. That's not pretty. So we'll just make that nice looking. There you have it. Folks, we have finished. We have made a bonus project tag using the decorative stencil, the snowflakes, kind of pretty. Then we also have our pretty Pebbled Path and Moody Mauve card. And then again, Moody Mauve and Copper Clay. It's kind of a fun combination there. And then our first card, which is the Pretty Peacock, Petal Pink, and Wild Wheat. Who'd have thought that would be a nice, fun color combination? There you have it. We have used up some stuff from our stash and had some fun using those Abundant Beauty masks. Hope you liked it. Sorry for all the crazy mess, but masking's a little bit different. Happy to have you all here with me today, and share what you make. I want to see what you make using these masks. It'll be fun. Okay, folks, I will catch you next time, and I'll see you in a couple weeks for Meandering Meadow, for Garden Meadow, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a cool technique time class. See you then. Bye-bye.